Morality of birth control, Margaret addresses the crowd saying that women have been oppressed for all these years and that like usually the oppression stems from men or like higher up officials saying that it disrupts their morals, such as when women were fighting for higher education, they said it would ruin women's morals of like the family life and traditional roles. And then women won that right, and then women won the right to enter the workforce. And then again and again, the moral thing came up again, saying it would ruin women's morals and they would leave the home and not take care of their kids nor take care of their husband. But that proved to be false. And then after that, women finally won the right to vote in 1919. And remind you, this speech happened around the 1920s. So this is when women finally have the right to vote, which means women now have the right to have a say in politics. And so now women want the legalization of birth control. But then again, the men and like people in the higher up are saying that it'll disrupt morals, especially the women's morals, especially the church. And then Margaret, she kind of like she's kind of joking but not really, but she's saying that like, why do you guys keep talking about morals, like the church keeps talking about like us ruining our morals, like if the church keeps saying that then the church is doing her like kind of a bad job teaching us morals then. But like she was just joking, but basically she's saying it's ridiculous how the church and like religion is involved in policies made for women when church and state should be separate. But then she starts going on about how the advancement of human civilization. Like, say, when back then, when overpopulation, usually natural causes would make the overpopulation go down, like famines, natural disasters, diseases, or poverty. Those would make the population go down. But she says that was part of like that part of human civilization was like the beginning. And then she says that we should like progress as human civilization and control our own overpopulation. And that's where birth control comes in, because birth control will cover the overpopulation, but it's humans controlling their own overpopulation. So it's a human civilization advancing. And then she starts to mention how there's like three different types of people in society, such as the first group, they're the rich and they're the educated people. And the rich and educated people know about birth control and they're able to use birth control because they have the money to, and they also have like the resources to. And then she says that those people are usually like respected and try to be replicated. And then so she's like, that's kind of hypocritical because they use birth control, but you're telling us not to use birth control, like the general public not to use birth control. And then there's the second group, and then she says like they're the group that know about birth control and they support birth control, but they're not able to get the birth control because it's illegal during this time, and so they can't even get the birth control, but they support it. And then there's the third group, which one she really dislikes, and then they're the group who don't use birth control and they don't think about the consequences of their actions. So they start to have like more and more kids. And with these more and more kids, like the ignorance of birth control and family planning also spreads, which contributes to more overpopulation, more poverty. And she also says they're either like uneducated about birth control or their religion stops them from using birth control, which she says she finds it idiotic that like their religion is stopping birth control. Because she says children have a right to be born into a loving and happy, financially stable home. And women have the right to use their own body for whatever they want and have the right to motherhood. Because if a woman has a child that they're not ready for financially or want, and then basically it's a lose-lose situation for the woman and for the child because the child's not wanted and the woman doesn't want to be in this motherhood situation. So with the third group, it really messes up, she says, like society, because the third group gets hurt the most, and then their overpopulation affects the other levels, such as it depends on the upper level and the middle level financially and socially, which kind of makes sense because I started thinking of like examples of like more poor countries, and I thought about the Philippines and how the Philippines, like there's a lot of overpopulation, especially in the city and the ghetto, and then in that city like families on the regular in the poverty level would have 9 kids. And then it's either because they don't really understand birth control, or also because the Philippines is a majority Catholic country, such as in the Philippines, abortion is illegal, just flat out illegal because of the Catholicism that rules the policies and laws. And so birth control like is basically against their religion. So they don't use birth control, nor do they even understand birth control because of like religion or education. And then after that, they just have 9 kids, which contributes to more poverty, and their children will also be ignorant of the consequences and will also have more children, which will expand poverty. Which totally makes sense when I think about it, what Margaret said. So basically, Margaret was like, we just need to legalize birth control, and then men need to stop having, men and the law and the church need to stop having a say in what women want to do with their body. And I'm like, yeah, that ties it pretty nice. So that's why I think like the speech was like, it really speaks to me, and it really opens my eyes on how difficult it was for a woman back then, and how like privileged, even though we're still fighting for some certain rights now, like definitely, women are definitely better off in this generation than like all the previous decades, because like we want so many rights now, and it's like really it's really like it's kind of inspiring in a way, and it's kind of like I kind of feel like a feeling of like frustration for women back then, but inspired by like their like power and willingness to fight against the power and then get rights that were supposed to be given to them.